Hi there, welcome to Productive with Patty. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the 4 books that I feel are part of my core belief system. And they are The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. This book is sort of famously known as The Secret Behind the Secret. If you have ever read The Secret or have watched the documentary, and don't feel as if that sort of thinking is for you, The Science of Getting Rich is not quite as, it's not the same thing as The Secret. It's more focused on literally getting the things that you want, and you can also sort of just reinterpret it in a way that incorporates whatever your higher power is. And so it's not as if it's going to be, there's nothing offensive in it. So it's easy to adapt, even if you do have a different sort of belief structure than the sort of universe mentality. So The Science of Getting Rich, The 4 Agreements. Now, The 4 Agreements is a Toltec wisdom book. I think it says here, a Toltec wisdom book. It's written by Miguel Ruiz, and it is an incredible book. It's not a religious book. I don't know, when I heard the word Toltec, I kind of felt like it's some sort of ancient religion. It's really not. It's more of like it's a culture. It's a cultural book, and these are cultural beliefs. And it is incredibly insightful, and I love this book. But it's really summed up in right here. He writes out the 4 agreements right here. Be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So I first heard about this book. Actually, I just saw it in the bookstore. I think I was in high school. But then more recently, I read a really old article that Tom Brady did, an interview he did, and he mentioned this book, and I thought, hey, I have that book. And so I dug it out and I read it, and I thought, wow, this is just incredible. Like look at this. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. And that is so powerful. When you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, I guess it's kind of common sense, but we do it all the time, every day, on the simplest possible things. And, we create this sort of alternate reality that might be different from other people. Even, especially with our loved ones, we make assumptions about why they choose to do the things they do, whether they're good assumptions or not. And it really sort of creates the world that we live in. So this is a very, very important book, very influential. And it has so much, like you can see all my underlining here and my writing and whatnot. So the next book is The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. And this book is a masterclass on getting your work done. It doesn't sound like it. What he says is break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles, which is true. But a lot of people sort of think, when they see the word art, they sort of think that it's for people who draw or people who tell stories or write. And we are all creators of some kind. We all have something that we want to do, something we want to share with the world, something that we have to do at work. We all have things that we have to do for our families and for ourselves. And he really talks about resistance. And I guess the title, if he had made the title something about resistance, it probably wouldn't have tracked with his intended audience. But you can see here, it is very there are just so much insights in these pages, and about how to treat yourself as a professional, how to validate yourself, right? How you should act, right? So lots of things about getting your work done, whatever your work might be. Okay? And finally, Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life. This is by Marshall B. Rosenberg. I believe it should be Dr. Marshall B. Rosenberg. He did pass away. This is a fairly, I believe it's kind of an older book, not super old like The Science of Getting Rich. But this book is so, I mean, I don't want to say life-changing because it's kind of, I don't want to be overstating it, but it really does force you to look at the way communication works. You know, and a lot of it, I believe I maybe made this connection before, but so much of what Dr. Rosenberg teaches is really focused on sort of the first two or three, not even four. No, the first three agreements here, right? It's all about the word. It's about using your word to communicate in a healthy way. It's about not taking things personally, and it's about not making assumptions. And so a lot of what's in this book is really focused on, indirectly, of course, and unknowingly, on the first three of the four agreements. So the NVC process of communication is really observations, feelings, needs, and requests. And so the idea is that you want to, observe the concrete actions that others are doing, right, that affect your well-being. Then we want to express how we feel in relation to what we've observed, okay? And then to express the needs, values, and desires that created our feelings. And then the concrete actions we request of someone else to enrich our lives. And it is incredibly powerful. If you work in any sort of social environment, maybe you're a teacher or a counselor, or even a parent that needs to deal with communicating in different ways, this book will be incredibly useful to you. It looks more like a denser read than the other three books, and it kind of is. He does go into a lot of detail. He does have a lot of examples here, and it's really good to go through the examples in particular to sort of hear how the method is applied. And it is a method, and it does require you to alter your thinking, and this alteration of thinking actually helps you even if you aren't communicating externally with someone else. And so I highly recommend this book, especially if you're in a position of dealing with a lot of people. So that's it for these very important books. Again, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall B. Rosenberg, The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, and the classic The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And I'll have it linked in the description below. So maybe we'll go into these some of these books more in depth. We'll see. And what about you? What are the books that sort of make up your core belief system? What I really love about these books is that they are really sort of simple. Like, look at how small this book is. it's smaller, it's shorter, the line spacing is better, is wider. The Science of Getting Rich, it's I mean, it's so I think if this were spaced like a regular book, without the huge margins, it would be even thinner. Look at how thin that is. But it's so impactful. Even the War of Art. The War of Art is a not bad sized book, but it is definitely, you know, a lot of space in the book, and a lot of the way it is formatted is sort of skimming friendly. I like that these books are generally a quick read, and with the exception of Nonviolent Communication, this is actually laid out more almost like a textbook. There are quizzes and whatnot in here to help you grasp the elements and become more familiar with it. But generally, these books are really easy to read, and the more you revisit them, the more wisdom they give back to you. And I think that's what makes a really great book. So I'd love to hear what your core belief books are. You can leave them in the comments below. And we might go ahead and get into a couple of these here. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, time to cut your claws, kitty.